Okay, Sport D song listeners, we promised a guest on round 62, and we have a fantastic guest in Paul Lincoln. Paul, welcome to Sport D Song Boxing Podcast. We're going to talk all about Repton ABC and your time there. But first and foremost, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Well, no, very well, thank you, Alex. It's my pleasure, and I've been looking forward to this for a while. So, you just fire away, Alex, and then we go from there. So,
Absolutely.
Hope we don't send anybody to sleep, but it should be interesting.
I'm sure we won't, Paul. Listen, Paul, we look at, myself from an outsider in the boxing world.
Yes.
We look at Repton ABC in London. It's just got this mythical spirit to it. It's, you almost look at it as the home of boxing. Does it still have that same glow to it as what it did when you was there now?
Well, when I was there back in the 70's, that club really was something special. And I'm not just saying this just for the sake of it, because I was there at the time. The 70's really was a tough era. And, and not just that, the boys that were there, you had sheer class from light flyweight up to heavyweight. And, we could really pack a team together. We could go all the way down to Scotland. We could go down all the way down to Cornwall, anywhere. And we could always take a full team. We'd go after Denmark, Sweden, Ireland, anywhere. So, no, the year I was in, it was quite something special. And if I had a choice of the years I've liked to have boxing, the 70's. It was
70's.
hard. It was hard. It was tough because there were so many good boys around and you really had to up your game. It wasn't like just going to a gym, doing a bit of boxing. I might come next week or, I might go the week after or something like that. You wanted to get on. You turned up. You grafted. And Tony Burns and George Odwell, they really were the business, them two. And go on, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, Paul, give us an idea. So, I don't know how old you was when you first walked into the gym at Repton, but do you have memories, or do you remember that first moment when you walked in there, sort of wide-eyed, looking around? What was that like when you first walked in?
Well, I started at Enfield Boxing Club back in about 1970, 72, 1970, I think it was. And then I moved to Repton about might be 74. But when you walked in there, you was in awe of this place because you'd heard so much about it. And then the famous Tony Burns, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Goosebumps. And it was like, will I be accepted into this gym? Am I good enough to be here? And within no time at all, he took you under his wings, and it's like, let's see what you got. Let's see if we can make something of you. And I made something of it. And Tony Burns could see, because I had to travel, and he could see that I'd travelled, and knew that I think this guy, let's have a go, let's take him on. So, and the rest is history.
What I was going to say, Paul, and also Sport Song listeners, Paul's record and your record as an amateur is just outstanding. We'll come on to that in a moment, but we're talking about winning multiple area titles, London Schoolboy Championships, ABA finals, you name it. You represented England as well at international level, but we'll come on to that in a minute. Just with Tony Burns, obviously MBE, the legendary coach at Repton for sort of over 60 years.
Yeah.
When you've got a trainer like that and he's putting his arm around you, how was he as a person and a mentor? What was he was he sort of involved in the pads all the time, or did he
Well,
keep a sort
no,
of like an overview of what was going on?
he was more of an overview because George Odwell, the trainer, he really was the business. And he was the first guy really taught me how to punch correctly.
Yeah.
And I think I probably waffled my way through the fight game, but yeah, I did pretty well. But soon as I got in with him, he was the one who taught me how to throw the punches properly. But Tony Burns, he had this aura about him. When you could be in the gym first, and there might be, I don't know, there might be 2 dozen boys in there. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't particularly tall, but he was a quiet guy. And he'd walk in, and everybody, it was like, God's walked through the door.
Wow.
Everybody was automatically quiet. He didn't ask for quiet, but you had so much respect for this guy because he looked after his boys. And
Yeah.
I always remember, even the sparring sessions, because I don't care what anybody says, that era, that gym, that was hard sparring, no matter what.
Yeah.
And he would put his head on the top ropes. He wouldn't say too much, but he would, he was eagle-eyed and he'd watch you. And he may pay us some few comments. You think, well, that was worthwhile. Yeah, I'll get that. He didn't have to say a
Yeah.
lot, but if he said something, you listened and you took it on
Wow.
board. So he would sort of like overlook all the sparring, and then George Odwell would overlook, the pads, the bag work and things like that. And everybody wanted to achieve, I don't know, greatness or, to the best of their ability, because these people, Tony and George Orwell, they put their heart and soul into the club. So give
Yeah.
them what they want. Go
Yeah.
out there and give your all.
That's unreal. Listen, the saying obviously goes without saying. No guts, no glory is the mantra. Listen, Paul, you talk about some of those sparring sessions.
Oh,
what was no guts, no glory? Was that sort of imprinted on your mind when you're struggling in there and you're getting hit and you're getting hurt? Give me an idea and give me a name. Who was one tough bastard in there who you really didn't look forward to sparring?
Well, I suppose in roughly in the middleweight stage, I was only flyweight, bantamweight, but in the middleweight division, you had John McGinnity. Now, this guy, he was what I will call like the assassin. He was, he really was he was a knockout specialist. One of the nicest guys you could ever wish to meet. But
he could bang.
Oh, yeah, because on one occasion we had the England team come down that were going to the 1980 Olympics. And Robbie Davies, who was a tough Liverpudlian, he was a hard fighter. Well, he came down to spar with John McGinnity, and John McGinnity taught him the art of boxing because he really laid it on Robbie Davies. Yeah, and Robbie Davies was good. He'll either knock you out or could get knocked out. But
bloody hell.
Go on, sorry, Alex.
No, I was just going to say, Paul, was it one of those moments? Was you there watching that sparring session?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I can imagine that when you watch some of these pro fights and I don't know, other fights for titles and you see boxers go, I bet having seen John McGinnity against Davies, I can imagine being on the ropes watching that, you must just think to yourself, well, that's nothing. I've seen worse than that. I mean, what was that sparring like? Was it
It was brutal. It was brutal because we often used to go up to Crystal Palace. Repton will go up to Crystal Palace in 1980 for the Olympic Games in Moscow, right? So I say like we went up to Crystal Palace, I would be sparring with the flyweight, which was Keith Wallace. He was class. And each boy, we'd have a boy every weight that would spar with the England team for the Olympics. But I always thought to myself one day, because Keith Wallace at my weight, he was good, and we used to spar quite a bit, as I say, at Crystal Palace. What I didn't like about him was he was a southpaw, and I never liked southpaws, but it doesn't matter. You get in there and you do your business. But I always thought afterwards, what if he don't make the Olympic? What if he gets injured? Would I get a call up? And because Tony Burns always, he had his fingers in so many pies, he could pull a rabbit out of the hat, that guy. But I always wondered, maybe not, I don't know. But Keith Wallace was better and he went. So good luck to him.
Right. Yeah, but listen, Paul, what I want to talk about is your success in a boxing. Obviously, you turn up at Repton, having been at Enfield, you find your feet in there, you get the backing from Tony Burns and George Odwell. When did that period of time come where you thought to yourself, hang about, this is clicking here, I'm getting victories, I'm winning? And when did you start getting that confidence? And that?
If you want the truth, I think once I'd had, I don't know, it could have been a few weeks, couple of months, something like that. George Odwell he actually taught us how to throw the left hook properly, the right cross, turn your wrist over, da-da-da. But it was, at one point he said to me when we was, where was it? I was in the ABA Championships in the Divs. He said to me, right, when you go out there, work on the left hand that I've been telling you. Work, turn the left in, bum, bum, bum. I went out there and I knocked the bloke out the first round.
Wow.
I thought, yeah, truthfully. I went out and knocked him out in the first round and I just thought, you know what? It's coming
works
together slowly. Yeah, that was just using left. Didn't even use the right. Didn't need to.
Wow.
And, but obviously, you know, the guy I actually fought, he obviously was younger than me, and I think it was his first three 3-minute rounds. And so, you know, I think he was a little bit dubious, a bit weary, I don't know. So, but, you know, once you go in, don't step back, go forward, bang. And what it was, it started off, he was a bit tentative, the bloke, and I thought, hang on a minute, you're normally a bit of a boy in the ring. So it started off, because he'd been doing 3 2-minute rounds, so obviously you go to the ABA Championships, it's all 3-minute rounds, and I think he was a bit wary, but I just thought, you know what, I'm not wary here, you're getting it. And it's like, you know, throw your left hand out, you know, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you're being hit quite easy here. So I don't know. And then I kept thinking to myself, George Odwell, left hook. Anyway, got him on the rope, well, bang, he went down, and that was it. It was the end of it. And I just thought,
and what was this, the ABA finals? Because didn't you fight?
No, this was the divs. Because you have you get to the divs, like I won the div, and then you go on to the semi-finals of London, and then you go on to the finals. But
tell us, Paul, about those finals, because didn't you fight? Quote me if I'm wrong here. At the Royal Albert Hall in 1980, and how was that?
Well, I'd had a few fights to get there, so I knew I was in good shape, and But the guy I fought in the final, again, he was a southpaw, and I just don't like southpaws. No. You know, I've got to be honest. So anyway, we actually started off, and he was a good England international. Make no mistake, he was a good England international. Anyway, but I don't care who it is, you know. Anyway. So we actually gone out in the first round, and in all my boxing career, I never, ever, ever got put down, and I never got knocked out, put down, or nothing. Anyway,
Wow.
so in the first round, no, I had to give it to him. Yeah, he won the first round, but he come out in the second round. I thought, you know what, I've got to change my tactics here, start moving to the other side. And all of a sudden, I've never been hit hard where I think, hang on a minute, Jesus, that was hard. He caught
Yeah.
me with it could have been a southpaw. He caught me with a straight right, just below the nose, on top of my lip. And I'll tell you what, it was like a thud, and I completely blacked out.
Oh,
Completely.
no.
I saw stars, I saw everything. But obviously, with the art of the boxing game, for Christ's sake, do not let them see that you've been here. And I did
No.
it. Yeah. Perfection of a punch throw. Yeah. But the art of the game is you've been here. But for God's sake, do not let them know. So what I did was, at that point, I just saw like all I could see was Tom and Jerry's stars being thrown all over the place.
Oh, God.
And then I just gripped my gum shield and just went forward. And fortunately enough, he took a backward step. And but at the end of the fight, he never stopped or anything like that, obviously. But no, I lost it on points, and all credit to the guy. He deserved it on the night, and no qualms.
No, absolutely. And
No
listen,
qualms.
you described that so well. It's like, it
Yeah,
must be when you think back now, obviously
yeah,
1980, you look back on those times
yeah,
and boxing in Repton.
yeah.
Do you still see it quite vividly?
Oh, yeah, clear. You know,
Yeah.
I'm 68 coming up, and I don't know. I think about might have been 20. I can't. Do you know what? I can't even think. Early 20s or 20. I was 20, something like that. Oh yeah, I can remember them fights as clear as if it was last week. Yeah,
Wow,
definitely,
that is incredible, Paul.
definitely.
Listen, Paul, we've spoken about John McGinnity. There's plenty
Yeah,
of other fighters from
yeah.
that era. You know,
So,
Roy Hilton, Graham Morton, John Andrews, Johnny
so
Waldron. Is there any other like
yeah.
fighters that you want
Oh
to talk
yeah.
about and you can mention?
Yo, Sylvester Mittee. Oh my God. Do you know? Oh, I don't want to bore you, but I'll give you a little insight. Now, this is
You're not boring us, Paul. That's for sure.
no, this we there was a London select team. We'd gone abroad to fight. I'm not sure we fought Jersey or Paris. We'd gone abroad to fight. It was London. It wasn't Repton. It was a London select. So we'd gone
Yep.
abroad to fight, and so there was boys from South London and things like that, North London, right? Anyway, Sylvester Mittee was light welterweight, so that'd be about 10 stone, give or take a bit. But he
Hmm.
was a class act. He was the nicest guy, but deadly in the ring. And
Yeah.
he had this, he could stand up straight and his knuckles would touch the floor. That's how long arms he had. But we'd gone away anyway. We're on the coach coming home. I think we spent a few days abroad, and then we're coming home. And this particular guy, I won't mention names, but anyway, this particular guy said, if I ever fight Sylvester Mittee, I'm going to F him, well, knock him out. I'll do this, I'll do that. And I just thought to myself, do you know what? You ain't going to do nothing. I never said nothing to him, but I just thought,
Yeah.
you know what? You're too loud. You ain't going to do nothing because you don't know what Sylvester Mittee's got in his repertoire,
Yeah.
in his locker. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll speed on a little bit. Anyway, what do you reckon happens? They've only drawn each other in the London ABA finals at the Royal Albert Hall the same night as me,
Wow.
and at light welterweight. So now you got this particular bloke from Fitzroy Lodge standing in one corner, and then you've got the class act of Sylvester Mittee in the other corner. And he, as I say, he looked the business. He looked the business.
Yeah.
I just thought, do you know what, Fitzroy Lodge boy, you can have some trouble here tonight. Anyway, so he's getting a bit leery in the corner and this, that, and the other. Anyway, they've come out into the Belgium for the first round, so they're just starting, leveling out their punches and just touching one another out. Anyway, the biggest mistake this guy from Fitzroy Lodge. Now, bearing in mind, he's gobby, he's been everything. Anyway, they're in the centre of the ring, so he's been backed onto the ropes. And so what do you do when you come off the ropes? You either go left or you go right. You don't come straight off the rope straight. He's been backed onto the ropes. He's come off the ropes, right, at a falls. Sylvester Mittee has hit him with the hardest right I've ever seen. He knocks him out cold. Absolutely cold. And I just thought, you know what? You're not gobby, Sylvester Mittee. You're a class act. But the other guy was, you know, a little bit noisy, a bit too much, and he got what was coming to him. And I never forget that fight.
What, he came off the rope straight onto a right? Blimey.
Yeah, he came straight off. See, the thing was with Sylvester Mittee, because he had longer arms than normal, he had an art. He'd go forward, then he'd bounce back onto his foot, and then he'd come forward with the right. No, I've never seen anybody else do it. But he threw it with such precision that he caught this particular guy flush on the chin.
Wow.
And down and out you went. And I just thought, do you know what, Sylvester? Even now, if I saw him, I would pull him on one side and say to him,
what a punch.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, what a punch.
Unreal. And, listen, Paul, you talk about, we talk about Repton. We know what reputation that had.
Yeah.
You mentioned Fitzroy Lodge, ABC. Obviously, we know there's plenty more others, Islington, Earlsfield. What was there, that grudge between the boxing gyms? Did it exist? And obviously, or did you have a little bit of respect for each other? How did it sort of work in those days?
Let's put it this way. Fitzroy Lodge was an extremely good club, right? Make no mistake about that. They had good boys. The Lynn Boxing Club, that was a good club in my day. So really, no, we had a lot of respect for the other boys, because you don't want to get too gobby and clever. All of a sudden, somebody comes in your gym and then they want to chin you and down you go. But, you know, if anybody had come to the Repton gym and wanted, you know, a club would bring their boys, it was never easy sparring. And Tony Burns, sometimes, if he could see the Repton boy get the better of it, he wouldn't say anything. In other words, get on with it. Yeah. But I don't ever, truthfully, remember any sparring easy. Even when
do you know?
Go on, sorry.
Do you know when you say that, it's like it puts a chill down my spine, because you know, oh no, we've all dabbled in a bit. I've done a little bit, and you know, it's hard, and it's funny because I do a boxing podcast now, and I've always got so much respect for boxers, because I know how tough it is. And when you say that about hitting the heights of Repton in the 70s and 80s, I just know well, I don't know what you mean, because I've not fought at that level, but I get it. You know, I get it.
You know, you even today, truthfully, again, even today, I still get goosebumps of the fights that you've had, or the fights that you've witnessed within the club, and think, do you know what? I remember when, you know, Harry Hurley, that was another good heavy, Ray Tabby, Johnny Waldron, what a class act he was at light heavyweight. You know, these boys were special, you know? Yeah. And, you know, I remember them all clearly. Yeah, and I'd have a lot of respect.
It's unbelievable. What I want to say, Paul, listen so you're fighting at Repton. We know what reputation they have. No guts, no glory. You put that vest on and you get into fight. I know we spoke about the ABA at Royal Albert Hall, but tell me what was your? It's an obvious question, but what was the proudest moment where you thought to yourself, do you know what? Pat myself on the back here. I've done all right.
I think basically you know, when you put that vest on, you know, you're putting on a diamond vest, you know, star-studded vest, because it was like not many people really, I don't think, got to international level really wearing like the Repton. All right, international is international, but when you're wearing the Repton vest and you're fighting abroad, oh no, that was something special because you was a team,
Yeah.
you know, you was a team. But I think we talking about I won 4 divisional titles,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
one year I had to bowl down to light flyweight because one year, first year in the ABAs, I was bantamweight, then I went down to flyweight, and then I actually went down to light flyweight because Tony Burns walked in the gym one day and he went to meet Lincoln. Following year, you're fighting at light flyweight. I went, you
Wow.
must be joking. I said, I'm 8'6", 8'5", 8'4". I said, that's 7'7". He went to me, make the weight. And you thought
Oh my
myself,
God.
Jesus Christ. So I ended up like sucking dock leaves for fluid. You eat rabbit
Oh
food
my
to make the
God.
weight. And so I think it was a London ABA final. That's right, at Porchester Hall. I'd gone round, I made the weight and 7'7". But I had it in my mind that once
Jesus.
I got off the scales, I was going to charge around the calf on my own and gorge as much food as I could before anybody could see it. But the trouble was, George Odwell said to me, Lincoln, stay here with the boys. So we all went
Oh
round there
my God.
together. I'd ordered sausage, egg, but you name it. And he went to me,
Yeah.
egg on toast for you. I went, what? I said, I can't fight on egg and toast. He went, egg on toast the first on. But
Oh my God.
yeah, and I got in the ring weak. I lost on points.
Oh,
You know, the bloke, he wasn't better than me, but I just did not have any strength. I was punching as
listen.
if I was trying to cut wall bud.
What's that like,
Yeah,
Paul? I mean, in that situation when you've got to cut so much weight and you
yeah,
get in the ring and you don't feel strong. I know a lot of boxers
yeah.
go through that and they know what it's like, but just firsthand from your point of view, are you getting disillusioned? I mean, how do you feel
No, I
about
wouldn't
that
say
at
I
the
was
time?
getting disillusioned. I was moody and I was
Mm,
grumpy, but also I had a nasty. Outside the ring, I was all right, but I did have a nasty streak inside us when I used to get
yeah,
in the ring. I did, even though I
yeah,
admit it myself. I was nasty. Yeah, I was,
yeah,
you know, and that got me through because I just grit my teeth. Thought, oh, f this. I'm gonna get on
it,
and stop whinging. Just get on with it. But
yeah,
it was tough and it made me moody because you know, when you're 8'7", I'm only 5'4", but you know, when you're cutting weight, it's like, oh God.
it's hard.
Yeah.
Listen, Paul, I know you still train
Yeah.
now. I've got to mention Alfie Gaskin, your mate.
Oh, he's a diamond.
I actually watched Alfie on his
Yes.
debut at the York Hall.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
look at places like the York
Yeah.
Hall in the East End of
Yeah.
London, those places, I'm sure, like the same as
Yeah.
Repton, have got like an energy to them, a fighting spirit.
What
They almost feel that hearts and souls have been left in that place, and it's unique for
it
those
is.
reasons, isn't it? Seeing someone like Alfie Gaskin fight there on his debut, does it make you proud to see him in there?
Oh, absolutely, because the kid himself, he's a really, really nice person. The whole family are nice people, and they deserve to do well because, you know, they're nice people. He's trained with Martin Bowers from the Peacock Gym, and he's a diamond in himself. So, as
Yeah,
a team, the Peacock Gym and Alfie, oh, they really are. And Alfie trains hard, and I see him most days of the week. We're in the gym together, but obviously he's in a different league to me. Being well, especially being a middleweight, and I'm only a whatever
Yeah.
flyweight or something or other. But no, class A, nice people to be around, and
Yeah.
I really, really hope that him and John Hedges really do well and go far, because Alex, I haven't got to tell you how to suck eggs. There ain't no money in grassroots boxing. You know, these
Yeah,
young
it's tough, isn't it?
pros, there's no money. And, I don't want to talk about
Yeah.
myself because it's boring. But the only, going back to the days when I was boxing and thinking about turning over to pro,
Yeah.
because, at one point I'm thinking, do I turn pro and go with Terry Lawless, in them days? And Charlie Magri was at flyweight, so he was obviously better than me. But, and I thought I had a good job in the meat. I was in the Smithfield market in meat trade, right?
Yeah. Oh, was you? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I was wheeling dealing down there, and in them days I was earning really good money, right? And
Yeah.
the thing was that it's either, do I sacrifice that and then go pro and earn peanuts and maybe be used as a punch bag for good old Charlie Magri? I don't know, and I really sat down and thought about it, and I just thought, you know what?
Yeah.
No, no,
Do you- yeah, and Paul, do you ever look back at some of the sort of British pros at that time? Obviously, John H.
yeah,
Stracey, Alan
yeah,
Minter, Maurice Hope.
yeah,
The list goes on,
yeah,
doesn't it? Kirkland Lang, Jim
yeah.
Watt. Do you ever look at some of those names in the history of boxing? And I don't want to sort of
No.
but do you ever think, like, what if you gave it a shot, you sound like you're quite happy with your lot and how
Um,
it went?
I've done quite well in life, so obviously I don't know, boy, but anyway, I've done well. I've done better out of the boxing now than if I'd have carried on in the pro game.
Yeah.
I believe, because Charlie Magri was a really, really nice guy, and I don't want to talk about his business on here because that's personal, but it opened up to me on several times on certain things. What he got for this fight, that fight, and I just think, you know what? It just ain't worth it. Time they
No.
take the tax out, time you pay your trainers, there really ain't the money in it. And
No.
and I feel sorry for a lot of the fighters. I'll tell you one quick story. You mentioned Maurice Hope there. I was in
Oh yeah.
the change rooms with the boys in the 70's with Tony Burns. I think George Odwell's in there. Anyway, we're all sitting in there. We've had our workout, head down in your bloody towel, sweating yourself out, and it's
Yeah.
a little bit of conversation because everybody's knackered and that. Anyway, Tony Burns walks in, and I'll never, never will I forever forget this. And he's walked in the gym, and he went, right, I've got a pair of boxing boots here, and he said they're Maurice Hope's boxing boots. Brand new they were, and he went to me, anybody
Yeah.
here a size 7? I thought, I'm a size 7. I thought, right, hang on, let's see what's happening here. Anyway, nobody puts nobody put their hands up. So I'm sitting there, I went, well, I'm a 7. He went, no. He said that he wants them to go to a black fighter. And in them days, he
Oh
didn't
my
make any
God.
difference. Blacks and the whites, you all got on, we
Yeah.
joked, we laughed and
Yeah.
joked.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, so I put my hands out and went, well, there's no black fighter in here, a 7. So he got hold of them, as he does, and he's thrown them at us. That's how he was. He's eaten us. So I thought, Jesus God, why don't you send me in a catapult to us next time? And
Yeah.
I kept his Maurice Hope's boots, and I had them on for a long time. But little
That is
story.
amazing. What a story.
Yeah, Maurice Hope's boots.
That is
Go to a black
fantastic.
fighter.
Listen, Paul. Yeah, that's brilliant. Do you know what? When you're telling these
Yeah,
stories, I can literally picture them. Listen, Paul,
yes,
we're sort of pushing towards the
yeah,
end. We'll let you go, but listen, what I
yeah,
wanted, one more question for
yes,
you is: so we see a lot of young amateurs now. We just spoke about Alfie Gaskin. We know he had a good
very
amateur
good, very
pedigree.
good.
We talk about amateur pedigree and then going into the pros. We see a lot of amateurs now who maybe cut short the amateur career and sort of turn
Well, if
over.
you want the
Uh,
truth,
w- w-
sorry, butthead, I'll sum it up,
go on,
right? I will sum it up
go on,
within seconds, right?
go on.
Never, this is me, never leave the amateur ranks too soon to turn pro. Have some good, have a decent amateur career, a carded amateur career with some decent fights on there, then turn over. But in my
Yeah,
opinion, for what it's worth, do not have 2 or 3 fights and then turn over to pro, because if you've got a good amateur upbringing there, it then will serve you well for when you turn over into the pro ring. And also not promoters, trainers and things like that. They like to know where you've come from, what you've done, rather than 2 or 3 fights. Well, who are you? You know?
yeah, yeah. Listen, Paul, no wiser words have been
Talking
said
about that.
on this
Yes.
podcast, I think, since it ever came into existence. Listen, Paul Lincoln of Repton ABC, it's been more than a pleasure
Thank you.
to have you on the Sport to Song Boxing
Thank
podcast.
you.
This podcast is why we started it, to get these types of
Yeah.
stories and speak to proper boxers
Yes.
and people in the game. And listen, I can't thank you
Oh, you're
enough, Paul.
more
It's
than
been a
welcome.
pleasure.
Listen, Alex, it's my pleasure to be on your show. So, I'm honoured. I'm deeply honoured.
This Well, listen, Paul, it is absolutely
Thank
the other
you.
way, and it's just been amazing hearing the stories. And I'm sure we will see you very soon and get you back on the podcast very soon as
It'll
well.
be my pleasure. Alex, thanks for your evening. I've enjoyed it.